Hello and welcome to Media Watch on Hunger and Poverty. I'm your host, Bill Schickler. And today we're going to be doing a second in our series of programs on the situation in Haiti. As you may be aware, there were food riots in the last several weeks, mid-part of April, which led to the Haitian Senate firing the Prime Minister Alexis, in order to try to alleviate the situation of chaos that was occurring from these food riots. And in our previous program, we talked about the humanitarian situation and some of the international forces that caused some of the problems in Haiti. Today we would like to talk about the historical record of Haiti and of the recent past, and how that plays into the problem with food as it is today. And we're very happy once again and lucky to have with us a very well-informed person on Haiti and his radio program, Combat Lakai, Yves Diety. Yves, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you. Thanks again.
Your program, Combat Lakai, has been
Combat Lakai has been on for the past 24 years, and next year will be 25 years.
89.3 FM.
Exactly, on WPFW, Pacifica Radio, every Saturday night from 10 to midnight.
And it'll be how many years?
This is 24th year. So next year we'll make it 25.
A quarter of a century.
Quarter of a century.
Quarter of a century.
Yes.
And I know that, I guess you really make all these big bucks working for that station because...
I wish. I wish I did. No. It's a volunteer radio station, and it's something that I'm very proud to do, and I dedicate myself to it. And I think it's a great service to the Haitian community here, and it's really a real pleasure. And I don't think if I were to get paid for it, I would have had such a reward, such a commitment to doing it all that long. And I think it's good because people appreciate it, and they tell me that, and everyone listen on Saturday night, even those who don't really like what they expect to hear. Mm-hmm. But everybody listen, and even American government officials they listen. As a matter of fact, the State Department, when they get their interns, they told them, if you want to hear about what's going on in Haiti, listen to that radio program on Saturday night. They don't say it publicly, but they told me that.
Well, that's great.
Yes.
So you might not make $50,000 a show, but you're making an impact anyway.
That's right.
Well, if we could, we know that there's been food riots in Haiti. It's been very difficult. We know that Haiti is one of the poorest countries in the hemisphere. But in our last program, we pointed out that at one time, not too long ago, Haiti was sort of the breadbasket of the Caribbean, and it's sort of been some international policies that have changed that situation. And in light of these kind of international forces, maybe, Yves, that you could give people a little background in history, let's say starting in the mid-'80s with the first election of President Aristide, and what he represented to Haiti's previous history and what happened to him.
Well, in 1990, on December 16, 1990, we had a first election. And at that time, the people of Haiti, they felt very proudly that they did participate in the democratic process, and that democracy was really taking off in the country. So they went and elected someone that they think represented what they really wanted, their aspirations.
He was a priest.
And that was a priest. That was Jean-Bertrand Aristide. He was elected president for 5 years. And
in 1990.
In 1990. And he took the oath of office on February 7th, 1991, which, by the way, I attended that ceremony. Yeah, I was in Haiti. And then 7 months later, he was overthrown in a coup d'etat. Yeah. And it has been a constant process of instability in the country, and until we had he was brought back in 1994 by President Bill Clinton, and then we had an election whereby President Preval was elected for 5 years.
That was in 1995.
Exactly, he did complete his 5-year term, and then when he left, there was an election, and then President Aristide was again elected.
So Preval, who is now the present president, was also president in 1995.
In 1995, that's right. This is his second term his second 5-year term in office. But you also have to remember, before, when Aristide was left in the first coup d'etat in 1991, the military took over. Okay, the armed forces of Haiti at that time took over the country, and that was the beginning. I mean, not the beginning, but those guys really totally destroyed the country economically. I mean, all the factories, the assemblies, the left, and we will see the total degradation of the quality of life going down under those guys.
What are some of the reasons that the army would want to drive away factories or?
Well, there was an embargo against Haiti. There was an embargo imposed on the military men who took power, and also it was a constant struggle because those guys, corruption, and those guys, they just don't know, they're not qualified to govern any country.
No, I'd like to jump in here real quick. I can remember listening to C-SPAN for a period of at least 2 weeks when they were holding hearings on when President Aristide first was elected. He invited the Drug Enforcement Agency, DEA, to make use of his police forces to monitor drug shipments, usually on small boats and small airplanes, that would use Haiti as a transshipment point from Colombia to the United States. The DEA turned him down. And people like Charles Rangel of New York, Maxine Waters of Los Angeles, California said, "Why, DEA, are you doing this?" And they just glibly said, "Well, we didn't think that we needed their help." Is this narco-terrorist activity, is that part of the problem that happened when the coup occurred?
Well, that was one of the things that really started, because some of those guys who participated in the coup, they were also drug dealers. Let's say, for example, Michel Francois was one of them. There were suspicions on many others. And one thing to understand is the fact that the problem that the United States has with the Aristide government was the fact that it was a popular government, okay? And they did not want that to happen, where the people themselves, you know, especially poor people, elect their government.
Because they can't be manipulated as easily.
Exactly, right. See, the guy was elected, and that, you know, popularly, so they didn't want that to happen. And they didn't want to see that. And the U.S. cannot deal with that anywhere. And any time that you have a popularly elected leader, whether it's the Caribbean, Central America, South America, they manage to overthrow that person. Well, and Aristide was no example.
Well, just so our audience knows that we're not part of the Hate America All the Time network, we want to point out that there's certain interests within the U.S. government. We know that, in fact, I think you might have worked in one of these places at one time. They rely on cheap labor, like assembling little dolls for Walt Disney World, and they have the same problem that they had in Maquiladoras. You get a workforce that's flat on their backs and have no other choice, and they work for very poor wages. They work for a while, and then they jump to Vietnam or China.
In the second movement to overthrow Aristide, one of the person who was leading that fight was a sweatshop owner.
Sweatshop owner.
Yeah, a sweatshop owner by the name of Andy Apped. Now, the guy used to own a lot of sweatshop owners. I mean, sweatshop in businesses in Haiti, and they were paying people like, you know, nothing virtually to work for him. And so you really have to understand that. And those guys, they only thrive when you have instability or you have dictatorships, and that's the type of government that really helped those guys.
So that was the economic motivation
exactly
to have things
behind it. And the other thing was the minimum wage, because Aristides promised to raise the minimum wage, and those guys did not. They refused to have the minimum wage raised in the country. And still now, President Preval, he still struggled to raise that minimum wage. It still has not been raised in that parliament. There's a bill introduced to raise the minimum wage, and still it has not been raised. I mean 70 goods, and people are trying to make it 150 goods a day. I mean 70 goods, you can't live with it. I went home, I give somebody in the street 10 goods, and I said,
how much is a good equivalent?
Right now it's 7 to 1. It's it's 35 actually. It's $7 to a US dollar. 7 Haitian dollars to a US dollar. That means 35 goods for $1. So that means 70 goods is $2 per day. So $2 per day, you can't live on that. There's no way.
Anyway,
you cannot make it. Besides, a gallon of gasoline costs $6 in Haiti, $6 in Haiti. Now, so for a country like Haiti, here, you know, it's a problem. It's a huge problem for us here, much less for Haiti, for Haitians. And the other thing people have to understand is the fact that there are forces here that really don't want to see the country progress, move forward.
Let me ask you about that specifically. One of your favorite organizations, the International Republican Institute, that has had a storied past with Haiti. Maybe you could tell our viewers a little bit about what it is, what it did in the past, and what it's doing now.
Now, the International Republican Institute is an organization. It's an arm of the right-wing Republican Party, and actually in the United States. Actually, the chairman of the board, guess who he is? John McCain.
McCain?
Is the chairman of the board of IRI.
Okay.
So you see what's going on. I call it a terrorist organization, but if you define terrorism, because that's what it is. When President Aristide was elected the second time,
2000.
In 2000, exactly. After the election, the person who was representative of IRI in Haiti, when she came back to Washington, she said, look, we cannot have Aristide govern the country with his party in majority in parliament.
Who was this lady again?
Micheline Begin.
Okay, and
that
she
was her name.
Representative?
IRI representative in Haiti.
Okay.
So IRI is bad. It's a bad organization. It's a terrorist organization. And that organization itself contributed to the destruction of Haiti. I mean, they were at the avant-garde of the movement. I'm not saying that everything that Aristide done was right, but remember, the man was elected democratically. Here, look at the approval rating of George Bush. But we don't overthrow him. We're going to wait next year. We'll kick him out on January 20th, 2009. But down there, and they were one of the organizations behind the coup that not only created instability, bring murder, and all of those things, mayhem in the country.
Okay, now some people might say, well, you're just tossing out accusations, but the New York Times has quoted Ambassador Brian Dean Curran, and he said that in public that as the U.S. ambassador to Haiti, that he was undercut by a Mr. Stanley Lucas, who at the present time is the international head of the International Republican Institute in Haiti. And this organization gets $75 million of the public's money this year.
I can tell you he was lying. How can you be ambassador of the United States in the country and you are being undercut by
some strange
organizations? Now, Brian D. Curran was in bed with Roger Noriega at the State Department. Roger Noriega was the one calling the shot, was the players, and it was all part of the plot and to overthrow Aristide and to get rid of him out of Haiti. Now, Roger Noriega, by the way, whom I call the Haitian Bin Laden, and that's how I call him. He is to Haiti what Bin Laden is to Americans.
What's his name
Roger
again?
Noriega.
What's his name again?
Roger Noriega. He
Okay.
was working for Jesse Helm. He was an aide to Jesse Helm on Capitol Hill. Then he became Assistant Secretary of State for Caribbean Affairs at the State Department. He was an ombudsman. He was the one who had all those meetings with all those groups. When they could not meet in Haiti, they went and met in Santo Domingo, in the Dominican Republic. That's where they went and came to plot the whole overthrowing of the Aristide government. So all of those things, all those people they're talking now, they're a bunch of liars, and no one is going to believe them. And I tell you, no one of them cannot face me personally to tell me that all of those crap. They know what they did. They know they did it, and whatever will happen to them, it's their conscience right now. But they know that they have done it. But the worst part is, we Haitians, right now, we have to deal with it. So it's our country, no matter what, we have to take the responsibility, we have to live with it, and we have to see what we can do to help our people.
Well, we know that foreign policy, there's a Marine Smedley Butler, who was the only soldier to ever win the Presidential Medal of Freedom twice, and he wrote a book saying that being in the Marine Corps, he was basically a hired gun for international interests of the United States. So even though the people of the United States